You've heard me say before that some words are just cliche. They sound cliche. When they come out of my mouth or anybody else's mouth, your brain just shuts them off. It's as if it's kind of an eye roll response of, yeah, I get it. It's Scott B with the Business on Purpose podcast, mybusinessonpurpose.com. I wanted to do a podcast that was a little bit different based on the last few weeks of coaching. I've given you some things over the last couple of podcast episodes, the 6 major kind of themes that I'm seeing. But I think there's an overarching umbrella as I'm thinking through this. And I realize that this is not a perfectly developed thought, so just hang with me. But I do think it will be helpful for you. And it comes off the heels of a couple of coaching calls that I've had here just even in the last couple of days and the culmination of what those have meant. When you take your child to the pediatrician, one of the things they always do for the annual checkups is they give you kind of a metric of how your child is growing, the different thresholds and stages, size, weight, functionality, etc., that they're going through. We look at human beings as organisms that grow and follow life cycles and patterns. But a lot of times we don't look at our business that way. We look at our business as a static. We start our business and we run our business. And so there was the startup phase, and then there's every other day. When in reality, that's not the case at all. I just got off of a call earlier this morning with a heroic architecture firm owner who's been running her firm for a couple of years, and she is going to at least triple revenue this year over last. And there is a cliche that I will share with you, and the irony of me starting out this podcast with that is what got you out of Egypt won't get you into the promised land. I've said that more and more here in the last few weeks because it's true. Your business grows in stages, and what got you out of Egypt won't get you into the promised land. What got you beyond $100,000 of revenue won't get you to $1 million. What got you beyond $1 million won't get you to 10. What got you to 10 won't get you to 100, etc., and all the way out. And so we immediately think, well, yeah, I'll just hire different people. But we bypass a crucial element of the growth. That's you, the owner. And at some point, you have to own not only the business, but you have to own the mantle of this word that I'm afraid to tell you because it can come across as cliche. You have to own the mantle of a leader. Let me give you insight as what happens when an owner is owning the mantle of a leader. As the team sees the leader actively pursuing growth, actively pursuing learning, actively pursuing progress, they immediately have an affinity for the leader. They immediately have a respect for the leader that may not have even existed before because they know that, yeah, while you don't know it all, you're going after it. You're owning the opportunity to grow in your leadership. Some of you are heroic small business owners, and I want to tell you a message. Some of you don't need to hear this message because you are actively sprinting and marathoning after leadership and the mantle of a leader and the elements of leadership. Writing things down, repetition, team meetings, accountability, all those things that we've talked about in the last couple of podcasts. But I want to stop before that. And I want to tell you that some of you are abdicating your responsibility as a leader. And the reason that your team stinks, or at least you think your team stinks, is because when they look at you, they're not seeing a leader. They're seeing somebody who's acting the same way that they acted when they started the business. Now, please don't mishear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that you stink. I'm not saying when they look at you that they see weakness. All I'm saying is that they don't see growth in leadership. What does that look like? Scott, you can talk to me about all this stuff, but what does that look like? In fact, you can call me a jerk if you want to. I won't be offended, especially if I can't hear you. But I will say this, guys. How do you know that you're owning the mantle of a leader? Whenever leadership opportunities are provided, like this podcast, like a 12-week planning session that we're putting on in Bluffton, South Carolina, June 21st, like conferences, like books, like other podcasts. When leadership opportunities are offered, you attack them. You don't attack them saying they're bad. You attack them saying, what can I learn from this? How can I get more of this? How can I read more books, listen to more podcasts, go to more conferences, do more training for my team? I was reminded this morning with a heroic small business owner client who told me, I've told more people in the last year that I am the CTO, the Chief Training Officer. Well, guys, you cannot train what you don't know. And you will never know what you don't go after. And so I want to encourage you, when leadership learning is offered, go after it, embrace it, consume it, buy it, get as much as you can. And it goes back to that professor I had in seminary, and he looked at me with that broken finger, and he said, if you're down to your last dollar and you can either buy food or buy books, I want you to always buy books. What was he saying? Aggressively go after learning. Because the more your people see you learning, they will have compassion for you and they will fight harder for you. But the more you gripe and moan about the insufficiencies of your team, the insufficiencies of your people, the less they'll want to go after the same vision that you want to go after. In fact, the less they'll want to go after it because they probably don't see it at all. Because the mark of a great leader is somebody who constantly repeats the vision. Alan Mulally, the guy who turned around Ford, was said that whenever he opened his mouth, you heard the 4 objectives that were printed on a pocket card for everybody to see. Are you constantly repeating the vision, the mission, the values? Are you attacking leadership opportunities? Because when you start doing that, you will own the mantle of a leader. And when you start doing that, your team will start fighting for you instead of against you. And if they don't, they will self-realize soon enough that this is not a fit for them. Guys, I am for you. You're a heroic small business owner, and I'm proud of you. I realize that this is challenging, this is difficult, and I want to encourage you, every leadership opportunity that comes, get it, go after it, attack it. Spend money to grow in this area, and it will serve you well. mybusinessonpurpose.com/vision. We'll see you next time right here on the Business on Purpose podcast.